Hello everyone, my name is Aditya Shenoy from Brainy Things. This video is the second part of developing a console game of Flappy Birds. If you have not checked the last video, I will recommend you to go back and see that video to be able to understand the existing code that we are working with in this video. The link to the first part will be in the iCard and description as well. Without any delay, let's get started. So this was the code that we left in the last video. Now we can initialize an obstruction set. We will initialize it to an empty set and we will add the coordinates of the pipes to the obstruction set. The tuple of y, x. After we change the y coordinate over here, we should check if the Flappy Bird is going outside the margin or not. So to avoid the game to crash when the Flappy Bird goes out of the screen, like that was happened in the last video. So we will check if the y coordinate of the Flappy Bird is in one of the top margin or bottom margin. If that is the case, then we will show a text. We will name it as game text and we will show the game over condition. As discussed in the last video, this game text will be displayed at y equal to 1, and that is the reason why we selected this margin to be 3 in the first place. So for calculating the coordinates of this game text y and game text x, for y coordinate it will be 1, and for game text x, that is the x coordinate of this game text, it will be centered horizontally at y equal to 1 line. That is, we will do this width by 2 minus length of this game text divided by 2. Take some time to see if this line makes sense or not. You can make sense out of it by thinking that the point in the middle of the width of the screen will match the middle point of the entire game text length, this or this, so that this game text will be horizontally at the center of the y equal to 1 line. And we can remove this divide by 2 outside a bracket, like this, width minus length of game text divided by 2. Now we can display the game text using the screen dot add string function. We will pass this y coordinate and x coordinate and the game text. We will refresh the screen. This is the game over condition, and hence now we want the application to wait for users input indefinitely. So we need to disable the no delay functionality that we had enabled in the last video. So let's first take the user input, screen dot get ch, and before taking this input, we will disable the no delay functionality by passing a 0 to disable the no delay functionality. Let's see if the code is working or not. Okay, even after the game over condition was happened, the code didn't wait for the user input and the game crashed because the game logic proceeded to pull the Flappy Bird down outside the screen. And as this is the game over condition, we should add a break statement over here so that it should not proceed with the game logic. But still, it is not waiting for the user's input indefinitely, and even though we have passed this 0 to this no delay functionality. Let's try by passing a negative value to this function. Maybe that will make this code work. Nope, it is not. Let's see why this is happening. Maybe it is because of the timeout function over here. Let's see on the internet about the standard screen timeout function curses. Okay, let's check this link. Okay, this documentation says that if the delay that we pass in the timeout function is negative, then the get character function will wait for the user input indefinitely. So this is what we wanted, and we had passed a negative value to no delay function, and instead of this we had to pass this negative value to the timeout function. Let's see if this code is working or not. Yes, the code is working properly because the game over condition is happened and the game has paused, but we are not able to see the Flappy Bird. So the user will not understand why this game over condition has happened, which obstacle the Flappy Bird has collided with. Is it the pipe or the game arena? So even after the game over condition, we need to display the Flappy Bird character where he died. So let's see. Maybe we can move this lines of code after the Flappy Bird character has been rendered. So even after the game over condition has happened, the Flappy Bird character will be rendered, and then the game over condition will be checked, so that the user will understand why this game over condition has happened. Let's see if this is working or not. Yes, as you can see, even after the game over condition has happened, the Flappy Bird is stuck at the bottom margin, and so the user will understand why the game over condition has happened. So this is working correctly. Now let's start moving the pipe towards the Flappy Bird. For that, as we have seen in the last video, before moving any obstacles or character, we need to delete the previous character and then add the next character. So as we are moving the pipes to the left direction, we can add a space over here, so that when the pipe goes to the left, it will add a space to the right in its previous position. So this just an extra space will handle the deleting of the previous position of the pipes. And then we need to update the X value, that is the horizontal direction value, so that the pipes should move to the left direction. We will use list comprehension over here because that will make the code simpler. The new values will be X minus 1 and gap start. So previous values will be X and gap start, and the new values will be X minus 1 with the same gap start. That is, the pipe will move to the left direction for X comma gap start in pipe. So it will, after rendering this pipe, it will update the values so that the pipe will move to the left direction. As you can see, the pipes are moving towards the Flappy Bird, but okay, the pipes are crossing the left margin and it is going outside the screen. So we need to check the margin condition while we are updating this X's value. So we will add one condition over here, that is, if X minus 1, that is the updated value of the X, should be greater than the margin, that is the left margin over here. So the updated value should be to the right of the left margin. Let's see. Okay. Oh, the pipes are stuck at X equal to 1, or I should say margin plus 1. Okay, that is because there is no rendering happening over at X equal to margin. So we should let this pipes go one more direction, one more space to the left. Let's see if that will make sense. Yes, the pipes are disappearing at the left margin, and there is only 3 pipes in this game right now. So we should add more pipes to this game. So after specific number of iterations of this game loop, we should add more pipes to the game. So to count the specific number of iterations of this game loop, we will initialize a loop counter to 0, and for every iteration that happens in this game loop, this loop counter will increment its value by 1. And we can add the generation of new pipe over here, that is, if loop counter is, say, intergap width, because after every horizontal spacing of the pipe we should add some more pipes to the game. So if loop counter equal to intergap width, we should add more pipes to the game, and we have the code for generating new pipes to the game. So gap start and pipe.append. So we will copy this and paste it over here. So it will initialize a new pipe, a new randomly generated gaps, and it will append this to the pipe data structure, and then the rendering will happen. So let's see. Okay, the new pipe has been generated, but it is spaced just one space to the right, and there is only one pipe being generated over here. So to resolve the x coordinate over here, yes, so this x value should be intergap width spaces to the right of the last pipe. So if this is the last pipe, then this pipe should be intergap width spaces to the right of this pipe. So how will we get the x coordinate of this pipe? Well, it is easy, because we have all the information of the pipes in the pipe data structure. So we will get the last pipe by using -1, and its x coordinate is at the 0 index. We will add intergap width to this x coordinate, and we will keep the same gap start that is being generated over here. Also, only one pipe was being generated in the game, because we were continuously incrementing the loop counter over here, and we are checking only if this loop counter matches the intergap width, that is 15. So after 15 iterations this condition was triggered, but after that the loop counter was incrementing to say 16, 17, 18, and it was not triggering this 15 condition anymore. So after adding more pipes, we need to reset the loop counter so that it can trigger this condition multiple times. Let's see if these changes have made the code working. Okay, the spacing of the pipes is correct, and there are multiple pipes being generated. So our code is working. Even though I'm trying to pass this Flappy Bird through the gap, I can pass it through the pipes itself, because we have not written any code to check if we are actually passing through the gaps or not. So for that, we can use the obstruction set that we have, in which we have added the y coordinate and x coordinate of each of the pipe characters. We just need to check if the Flappy Y and Flappy X, the coordinates of the Flappy Bird, matches any of the coordinates of the pipes. So along with the game over condition, that is the Flappy Y hitting the margin, we can also add one more condition, that is or the tuple of Flappy Y comma Flappy X is in the obstruction set. The reason why we have selected this obstructions to be a set data structure was because checking if any element is in a data structure or not is the fastest in the set data structure as compared to list or tuples. And set data structure allows only unique elements in the data structure, and we definitely have unique coordinates for each of the pipes because they are located at different regions of the screen. So this has optimized our code because this section of code is happening at every iteration of the game loop. So the set data structure is the ideal data structure for our case. And if the Flappy Bird has collided with any of the obstructions, then we can have the same game over condition. Let's see. Yes, the Flappy Bird has collided with this pipe and the game over condition, game over text has been shown. Now we can start working on the score of the user. So for that, we will initialize it in the initialization section. We will have a score text that will be score and a placeholder denoted by curly braces that will be filled by the actual score. We will initialize that score to be 0 initially. And inside the game loop, we will have the rendering of the score of the user because the score needs to be updated and rendered continuously in the game loop. So we are including this inside the infinite loop over here. We will have same game text over here, but we will use the score text here, and to fill this curly brace using the score, we will use the string.format function and we will fill this with the score. And as the coordinates of the game over and the score are equal, we can use the same logic of calculating the coordinates and the rendering of the game text. Okay, let's see if the score is visible or not. Yes, even though the score will not update because we have not added any code, but the score is being displayed at the correct position and the game over is displayed on it. But there is a problem with this overlaying. We will see it by initializing the score with a very big value. Let's run the program again. And if the game over condition occurs, this game over text will not properly overlay the previously displayed score on this line. So we need to delete this entire line before displaying the game over text. So for that, before we render this game over condition over on this line, we need to delete the entire line of y equal to 1. So for that, we will delete it using the space characters. So we will declare a spaces string, and this space will be of width character long because at y equal to 1 this will be the width character long. So this much space will be rendered at y equal to 1 and x equal to 0 to delete the entire line, and then the game over condition, game over text will be displayed. Spaces is space into width, and we will display the space using screen.addString. Y will be 1, x will be 0, and the string will be spaces. Now if we run the program again, even though the score is big, the game over condition, the game over text will overlay the previously displayed score by first displaying a string of spaces on this line and then displaying this game over text on this line. So we can reinitialize this to 0 and we can start working with the updating of the scores. Where can we put it? We need to check if the flappy X is passing through the pipe or not, and to get the coordinates of the pipe, this is the ideal space. So we will check if the flappy X is equal to the X coordinate of this pipe, and if that is the case, then we will increment the scope. Flappy X is X, score plus equal to 1. Let's see. As you can see, when we are passing through the pipes, the score is being updated. But after the game over text is displayed, the user will not know what was the score before the game over text was displayed. So we need to add that text also in this game over text. So we will display it simply using a formatted string, and we will display the score along with the game over text. So we will display the score. Let's see, the score is being displayed. My score is 1, 2, 3, and after the game over, the score is 4 actually, but I had passed only 3 pipes successfully, and on the 4th pipe the score should be 3 because I have not successfully passed through this pipe. This is happening because we are checking only if the flappy X matches the coordinate of this pipe. So after the game over, we need to subtract 1 score because ideally we have not passed this ideally we have not passed this pipe where we collided. Also, there is one condition that we are missing, but let's see if this is working correctly or not. 1, 2, and I will collide with 3, so my score is 2. So that is working correctly, but there is a problem with this approach. What if my score is 0? Even though I have not collided with the pipes, I have collided with the game arena over here, and my score was 0, and it subtracted 1 from this 0 score. So it is displaying -1, but my score was not -1, it was 0. So we can easily do this by calculating maximum of 0 and score -1. That is, if the score becomes negative because of this max function will move the score up to 0. Now if we run the code again and our game gets over at score equal to 0, still we get the score 0, and if we get a score of 1 and then collide, what just happened? My score is 0, now 1, 2 and I collided. Okay, the score is decrementing. Yeah, we need to have different conditions for uh, colliding with the game arena and different condition for colliding with the pipes, because when the player hits the game arena over here, we need to decrement the we don't need to decrement the score, and when the Flappy Bird collides with the pipe, we need to decrement the score. So there are two conditions that was triggering this game over condition. So we can check if again if Flappy, I will copy this condition. If Flappy Y and Flappy X is in the obstruction, that is it collided with the pipe, then score will decrement by 1. And if this was the reason why this happened, that is by colliding with the game arena, the score will not change. Now we don't need this max function anymore, and we can simply print the score because we are decrementing the score over here. Let's see. Yes, the score is 2. But if I collide with the pipe over here, okay, the code is working fine. So by this way we have completed the Flappy Bird game over here. As you can see, I'm not a good player of Flappy Bird, and once you develop this game yourself, let me know in the comment section what was your high score, and let's see if we can extend this game anymore. We can change the game difficulty of this game by tweaking the value that we are passing in the screen.timeout function. So by passing, let's say 100 millisecond, the game will become harder because the game is waiting for very brief amount of time for the user to press something. And on the other hand, if we increase the timeout function, the timeout interval to 200 milliseconds, it will become slower. We can use these facts to change the game difficulty gradually as the game proceeds. So for that, we will declare a variable game difficulty. We will initialize it to 200 because we want to start the game on a at an easy level, and we will set this game difficulty after we have declared this variable. And whenever a new pipe has been generated over here in this if section, we will also decrement the game difficulty by 5, and we will again set the timeout of the screen to this updated game difficulty value. Now if we run the program again, it will start with screen.timeout 200, and then it will gradually increase the game difficulty by reducing the time interval. But it is very hard to see whether this effect is actually taking place or not. So we will display the game difficulty for debugging purposes only at the top left corner of the screen, and we will display the string representation, and we will have the fixed width of 3. Let's see. Initially it will be 200, and as the new pipes are being added to the game, the game difficulty variable is decrementing by 5 value, and the game is getting harder and harder because we need to press the keys faster over here. And once the game difficulty becomes too low, the game will become impossible. But still, there is a slight chance that the game difficulty will keep on decreasing if some lucky person or an extremely expert Flappy Bird player plays this game. Then there is a chance that the game difficulty will decrement to a negative value. And if you remember that passing a negative value to this timeout function like this, it will cause the program to wait for the user's input indefinitely. So we should set a maximum game difficulty over here, or I should say minimum game difficulty. So instead of directly decrementing 5 from this game difficulty, we will set it to maximum of 0 and game difficulty -5. That is, in normal conditions, it will the value of game difficulty -5 will be maximum than 0 over here. But even if with some chances this game difficulty becomes 0 and this updated game difficulty value becomes -5, the game difficulty will remain 0 because of this. So our game will not crash. We can also put 1 over here because I'm not sure whether passing a 0 value to game difficulty is safe or not. So we will keep it to 1. Now if we run the program again, the values will be safer now. Let's remove this debugging purpose line that we have written, and now we have completed the entire code over here. So it is a good practice to go through the entire code to see if you have followed some good practices, good coding practices and naming conventions or not. So let's see. These variables height and width are technically constant, so we should rename them by all caps naming convention. I'm merging this line with the constant declaration section. This game difficulty is a variable because it is changing value as the game proceeds, and even this Flappy Bird is a constant, so we will rename this to Flappy Bird all caps naming convention. I will move this to the constant declaration section. Instructions. I'm adding line spaces between logical sections of this game. Like this is the rendering of the Flappy Bird and this is the game mode conditions. So we need to separate these sections of code by using some line spaces. And now I think that the code is looking good. The changing of the game difficulty that we have discussed over here is completely optional and you don't need to do this if you don't want to. I'm just explaining you what possibilities that you can have in any game development. The main intention of this video is to make you understand the game development logic so that you can develop any similar game like this with the initialization section and the game loop section using the Cursors library. So if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to support this channel and to see more such programming videos. Comment future topics for this channel or any feedbacks that you have. Share this video with your friends who are interested in programming or to people who will enjoy game development projects like this. The code present in this video is present in my GitHub profile also. The link to the repository is in the video description. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.